Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2+1. With our first grand finalist, the player ranked #1 of the world by Dark, and the final boss. It's Dark. Up against the Polish Brood War Terran, we have Spirit. In a best-of-7 Terran versus Zerg showdown, the first ever StarCraft Evolution League Championships, combining StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1. So, no matter what, you should find something you like. And hopefully before we get started, you'll find that like button as well. And maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,471 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. Maybe StarCraft Evolution Complete as well. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Spirit walling off with his academy early on, starting off with the Brood War Terran. Both these players will be switching off between the games, between the current and the prequel versions of their races. Spirit, for those who don't know, a StarCraft 2 Pro, and Dark, well, if you don't know him by this point, this might be your first video here, so welcome. I hope you enjoy. A Baneling bust is the choice, as against the Brood War Terran, there's not too many options except to either place those depots in the wall or make your units vulnerable. Throughout the league, we've seen a lot of early all-ins from both flavors, both classical and modern when it comes to Zerg and Terran. And Stim is on the way at the Academy. I don't think that's going to be vulnerable, but I'm not sure how good Firebats are going to be at dealing with the masses of Zerglings and Banelings. Just having access to them early on will certainly be helpful to Spirit, but it doesn't seem like Dark wants this game to go on for very long. He's only got 24 drones back at home. Spirit went 3 command center, of course. Despite not having orbital commands, still getting those SCVs is going to be very helpful. And he hasn't scouted at all, so really embracing that Terran mindset. But the wall is not even completed. Stim is 11 seconds out. Spirit retreats up to the high ground. The SCVs with 60 HP are going to be a little bit better off to deal with this. A beautiful split. The Firebats, sorry, mitigating the Banelings. But one taken down at the last second. 6 SCVs dead. Still not critical damage. Another Baneling making its way into the main. The Firebats hit the Stims, the Marines as well. And the Natural's been cleared out, but Spirit somehow ended this at the same amount of He actually has 1 more SCV than he started with. I take it back. That last one died, walling in the rest of the Zerglings. So Spirit just calmly deflected all of it. For those who don't know, the units are as similar as possible to their Brood War counterparts, but the Brood War workers mine a little bit faster in order to make up for the lack of macro mechanics like Larva Inject, Chrono Boost, or Mules that StarCraft 2 has. But they are also limited by the general idea of said units. Like, for example, I guess buildings as well. For example, you can't lower your depots. That technology wasn't invented till after the war, when the Terrans are like, this seems like a design flaw. Now, the Protoss never invented that technology at all, and I don't know what that says about them, but Marine range is on the way. Not starting out with their full range, and they don't have access to combat shield. But those Firebats acquitting themselves well, sacrificing several for the cause. In fact, 5 Firebats and only 1 Marine died during the Bane bust. A Chew Toy Depot serves its purpose. I think Spirit intentionally left this depot 3/4 of the way finished in order to be able to cancel it and open up his base. He's building 4 medics at a time and double engineering bay. So making sure his bioforce is as strong as possible, while Dark, in a bit of an awkward spot after that initial aggression, was really hoping to get some more economic damage done. But right now, not looking like the easiest thing to accomplish against a well-put-together bioforce. And maybe not quite accounting for those 60 HP SCVs, though let's make no mistake. It's not a mistake that either of these players are here. I believe 32, or at least 16 of the top players of both StarCrafts and this mod competed over almost a week in this tournament. And these are your 2 finalists. So obviously have some idea of how to play both flavors of their respective races. I'd be interested to see if either of them race switch at all, or what the rules about that are, but I'd be kind of surprised, as they're both very dedicated to the race they currently play, no matter whether it's the classic or the more modernized version. That is Caduceus Reactor, which I believe is medic energy regen or speed. I want to say, please forgive me for my lack of ancient knowledge of the Brood War. I know that queens could fly, I know that Zerglings were amazing, but banelings had not yet been invented, so I've played a few hundred games of the mod, but sometimes I forget exactly what things do. So for the most part, tech is the same. Units have had their stats adjusted to be as comparable as possible to StarCraft 2 counterparts. Not identical, but instead follow the essence of the Brood War units. That means those siege tanks, they still need siege mode. They still cost 2 supply. They still have less HP than their StarCraft 2 counterparts. But because we are on the StarCraft 2 engine, they're not going to overkill quite as regularly. A lot of the both restrictions and the improvements that StarCraft 2 made have some very interesting implications when applied to the Brood War unit, though the developers have done so as faithfully as possible. You can check out the Discord if you want to find more info or find some games. But now that the lull in the action has ended, that's a lot of fire bats. They're out in front, but not anymore as the banelings roll right through them, barely able to light up their propane and propane accessories. But Spirit may be a bit ambitious. Those are not Marauders, so banelings are more than happy to melt through. I believe firebats are light units, so the baneling's perfectly effective. It's just they have a decent chunk of HP. 65. Never mind. Banelings kill them real quick. Irradiate in production on the science facility. A science vessel is on the way, and Irradiate is, in StarCraft 2, an existential threat to the Zerg. Units are so very ready to claw over each other. You're not limited to just 12 at a time, but instead every single one of your units can crowd around that irradiated Ultralisk, or be stuck under the science vessels. They try to erase everything. So Dark is opting for pretty much a bit of everything. He's got a Nidus network, a Spire, Adrenal Glands, +1 melee, +2 Carapace on the way. Quite a macro game to start despite the early aggression. And now, I have no idea how this plays out. It's so walling off your siege tanks, a classic tactic there. No, those are house tanks. Wait, a changeling of a Brood War Marine. I'm pretty sure changelings didn't exist in the Brood War, but gonna lift. Oh my God, is that tank still stuck? I didn't know what the changelings would do. I don't think I've seen that before, but the changeling blending in just fine. More overlords on the way, but Dark still has a sizable army supply as he closes in on the 4th base. No planetary fortress in sight. That still hasn't been invented yet. The siege tank ripped apart. The bunker taken down. The banelings rolling in, but the irradiate melts through one of the Zerglings easily. And once the Zergling is taken out, then the irradiate fades. But the firebats out in front, there's still plenty of banelings at the back. Will he be able to micro them down? Throws a few more out there. And the field runs red with the blood of both sides. And actually, Spirit comes out ahead in supply. But Dark is threatening a drop. He's got Overlord speed done. Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. But a Bioforce full of medics and several science vessels overhead, building 8 firebats at a time. And Brenda, get back here! They said I could fly! No, don't go with the Terrans! I don't care how young and handsome they look! Susan, you remember the war! I don't... Brenda. Meanwhile, the Zerglings closing in yet again. Deja vu. We've just broken a base before. Lings and Banes overrunning. Marines splitting and stimming. Irradiate, but still not finding a lot of success as a single Zergling not going to be able to spread it throughout the army. Semi-base trade coming together. Spirit closing, and he's already taken out 1 hatchery, but he lost most of a command center of his own, down to 64 FCVs. Dark building 5 Ultralisks, though no chitinous plating. 2-2 upgrades finishing for both sides. 6 Ultralisks. Going to be almost unstoppable if they catch Spirit on the wrong side of the map. But if he uses them defensively, there may be a chance for him to put together a response. But no switch into that late game sort of mech. There's only a handful of siege tanks. Only 3 science vessels out there. Those ultras very well could cleave through all this. The science vessel energy upgrade on the way. I want to say Corvid reactor, but I'm pretty sure that's the Raven one, especially based on the Titan reactor? Something like that. Anyways, giving the science vessels more energy when they come out of the box with a starport. Meanwhile, Zerglings chewing through to distract for the Zerglings in the main. Spirit in a precarious position, which could become undone very quickly as those ultras close in. Dark has mitigated the damage. He's recovered from that early aggression. And, well, Spirit is not... The science vessels are detectors, so any burrowed Zerglings will be found rather easily. Titan reactor, indeed. Corruptor's on the way as well. Spirit's best chance at this point is a critical mass of science vessels. He hasn't yet seen the Ultralisks. I don't know if he's used any of his comsats. There's still a few Zerglings in the third. Will be spotted now. Dark still at 78 drones. 8 fire bats, 2 tanks, and 2 science vessels at a time for Spirit. Jammed into the corner. Another massive drop. Another 40 Zerglings loaded up for the main. Just as Spirit is starting to find his footing, a whole bunch more feet are going to show up in his main. Ultra speed now completed. An upgrade recently, relatively recent, like 4 years ago, added. Inspired by the Brood War equivalent. The Ultras are spotted, but one of them irradiated. Gonna help melt through the banelings, but there's way more Ultras where they came from. And carrying the irradiation directly into the Terran army. They are being cloven in twain right now. An absolute, utter, unmitigated disaster for the Terrans. The main base is gone. And 2 Gs as Dark rips him apart. Recovering quickly from that early pressure and bringing us to game 2 with a decisive victory. He hit that critical mass and was able to bring it all the way home. Spirit not really transitioning into the sort of mech composition, the heavier siege tank and science vessels quite quickly enough. Oh my, a new map indeed. What do we have here? Well, one, somewhat annoyingly, they've both chosen blue. Where are you going? A bit of a low... Destructible assimilator gates. Pairs of neutral assimilators around the map can be destroyed, affecting the width of the choke point between them. When they're both alive, ground units can... When one is destroyed, the choke is closed off, turning into an island. Please... Okay, so... Apparently they work kind of like rock towers, but with different implications. So, this map, I believe, designed directly for SC Evo Complete. The last map, Whispers of Gold, is in the new upcoming map pool. But Dark will now be our Brood War player up against Spirit as his native StarCraft 2 Terran. So while I think there were some Brood War players who participated in the tournament, I think having a basic knowledge and being comfortable with the StarCraft 2 engine, as opposed to having the more complete knowledge of professional Brood War play. I think this is a lot closer to being StarCraft 2 with new units than StarCraft 1. Either fortunately or unfortunately, and I'm sure that many debates will ensue about that. We've had them before, we'll have them again. But don't worry, what we do have, most importantly, are memes. So, and every time I see an argument between StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 fans, all I can think, but here we are. Like and subscribe. We know if you will. 3 hatch opener for Dark. Though Dark is Korean, which means I assume at least somewhat genetically he's predisposed to understanding Brood War, if not having at least played some. when he was younger. In fact, probably nowadays as well. Some very interesting looks. I believe this is a 4-player map. Dark got an Overlord in range. He saw that Spirit was here. I'm not sure if Spirit... Well, he's going to know the Overlord's there now. So should have a very good idea of where Dark is. I'm not sure if there are restricted spawns on this map, like you can't spawn on certain positions. But certainly not forced into cross positions. That much is obvious. Meanwhile, a half set of rocks, just helping to wall things off while not being too hard to take down later if you choose to. Some interesting. So once we get away from the basic restrictions of the StarCraft 2 ladder, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with maps. We'll see if either of these players either exploit or take advantage of them. The reverse Hydra Den. Is that how the Brood War Hydra Den looks? And it's just the StarCraft 2 one that's turned the other way? I'm not sure. Another hatch. 5 hatcheries for Dark to start things off. A lair on the way as well. Hydra Den's completed. He's taken the semi-island base, which only has 6 mineral patches, but does have those neutral assimilators that I vaguely remember. Hydra speed on the way. Both the Hydra upgrades, speed and range, take quite a long time to complete. I think partially because you can start them so early on, being a hatch tech unit as opposed to a lair tech unit like in StarCraft 2. The implications of which are wide-ranging. So, but the queens now for Dark will fly, assuming he gets there, which is by no means a guarantee, as the queen's nest is a long way off. 10 Hydras in production, much cheaper than their StarCraft 2 counterparts, but also weaker in turn. Meanwhile, Spirit has a tank push lining up behind this, not going for Hellion Banshee. Well, when your opponent... Overlords are detectors, for one, and Hydras are tier 1, so Banshees and Liberators might not be nearly the dangerous option that you might expect. Muscular augment's about completed. Oh yeah, on the SC Evo maps we have the Brood War style creep spread as well. Can only be spread by creep colonies and hatcheries, to my understanding. Zergling speed and Hydra range, as well as Overlord range on the way. It looks like Dark wants to get some damage done relatively early. He does have that 5th hatchery in the corner there by the island, and can fall back to a more economic play if he needs to, but Spirit, will he check for it? Indeed he will. Taking a look around. Few drones on the way, but there are Hydras popping out of the hatchery. Looks like Dark has them all hotkeyed independently. Very Brood War-esque. Hydra's trying to chase them down, quartering them in this back base. Spirit buying as much time as possible. Is this pocket base an island? I'm not seeing any ground path. It looks... Oh, so that's why Dark took the outlying base. He literally, as a Zerg, cannot get there. So... Overlord drops on the way. Oof. Was that first blood? No. Well, do Terrans really count? Meanwhile, double medevac drop lined up, but Dark is in position to intercept. He was going to go for a drop of his own. And oh no! Disaster strikes. Spirit intercepted. Dark was lining up Hydras so he would be ready with a drop of his own. And unfortunately, Spirit trying to sneak those medevacs out goes into the worst possible spot on the map for them to be. Queen's Nest is on the way. Overlord drops over halfway done. Lurker aspect is being researched. Surprised we didn't see that even earlier, but Dark is all lined up. And while there's a sensor tower on the way, there's no way he defends this base, right? There's no units here. That's the downside of it being so exposed. And being an island, no one's coming to save you. Maybe you can move some siege tanks over and mitigate some of the damage. but Dark being on 107 supply of Brood War Zerg. Yeah, here come a couple missile turrets, but that's not going to be enough to stop this. And the Hydras unload. The siege tank's moving into position. I mean, he's likely going to lose the Overlords. Well, never mind, I take it back. Lost one, so he won't be able to get everyone out. But Dark clears up the base, stops the mining. Behind it, another base on the way. Lurkers are done. Dark needs to not be supply blocked, but otherwise he's evacuating. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Well said, brother. Oh. Dark doesn't actually back out. He backs in. The corner of the base, and Spirit moving his medevacs back and forth to deal with it. But now Dark, they'll expect one of us in the... One of the Zerglings. Still in the main base. Meanwhile... My god, that Zergling looks amazing. Blue Flame Hellions. Wait, did he just get Blue Flame built into it? So Spirit adapting the more standard StarCraft 2 Terran. Testing the waters there. The Lurkers, are they on hold fire? Is the question. Those Lurkers under there, I don't think we can tell. Lurkers, so, Lurkers in StarCraft 2 are much better against armored units. They have more HP, they have bonus damage against armored. StarCraft 1 Lurkers have bonus against light units, like Marines and Zealots. They serve a similar but distinctly different purpose in my experience. And also, I think they got a new model. I haven't seen them unburrowed yet. Some of the buildings got new models since even I last played. The Defiler Mound now looking appropriately... Ugh. And Defiler is the ultimate spellcaster, maybe not just for Zerg, but possibly in the entire game of Brood War. Maybe only lightly rivaled by the Ghost of StarCraft 2. The Defiler with access to Dark Swarm, which can reduce, which negates all range damage under the Swarm, making units invulnerable to range damage, though not splash damage. I guess direct damage is the only thing. I'm sure there will be comments to correct me if I misspeak here. And then there's Plague. Of course. You cast the Plague and it... They are on hold position. Oh my god. Oh my god, Dark. Oh, he's waiting. He's waiting. Oh, and he unleashes them. Yep, those are Lurkers. It doesn't matter. There wasn't nearly as many Marines with this as there could have been. But there really aren't that many Marines on the map, so... 8 of them are in this medevac in the corner. Which is trying to go over this, like, bubbling... This map is amazing. I love the look. Somehow they've captured that Brood War look. Credit to the map maker. I don't know if this is one of those inspired... Oh, yeah. They can consume fellow Zergs in order to gain energy. So the Viper is just like the poor man's Defiler, effectively. But the Defiler with Dark Swarm and Plague puts out the swarms. That won't save him from the snipes. Oh, no. It's coating everything. I'm not sure if it also works for enemies. I'm pretty sure it does. I think it's just an area effect. The snipes will... Can they one-shot? No, not quite. They're a little bit short on the damage, though very close to it. Dark. Ah, yeah, Plague. Ah. Ugh. So they will take 500 damage. It will not kill you. But each of these units will be taking 500 damage over the whatever the time is. And it will bring you to 1 HP. So you better tread very carefully. Another Plague. Oh my god, that animation is disgustingly beautiful. Wow. Making me thirsty. I gotta play some more. It's been a little while and I haven't seen many of these new animations. Really embracing the broody nature of the war. It feels like Dark is closing in, but Spirit does have 160 supply. He's trying to expand, but Dark again loads up some medevacs. playing a very similar style to the Zerg he plays in StarCraft 2. The Lurkers they do not outrange ghosts with snipe, is what we're clearly learning here. They don't have a range upgrade like they do in StarCraft 2. So the ghosts give them that option. All right, throws out a Dark Swarm. And I just realized I was so enthralled by the Defilers, I didn't even make a pun on that. But now it looks like Spirit has a Dark Spirit instead. Yeah, that wasn't very good. But a Dark Swarm negating everything against those Ultras, which do not do cleave damage, but they do tank plenty. They're not nearly as dangerous as their StarCraft 2 counterparts, but they certainly lead the charge. The Zerg, 60 SCVs have died. He cleared out the third. The main base is gutted. And Dark continues forward. The swarms and the plagues overlapping. Even the buildings. I don't even understand how that works, but Dark swarms forward and takes a second game, proving his command over the Zerg of any generation. Beautifully done. Spirit looking a bit lost when it comes to dealing with it. Never finding the success. So we're going into another match, and again, Dark will be the Brood War Zerg, and Spirit will be the StarCraft 2 Terran. I wonder if it's a loser pick. As in, whoever loses the game gets to decide whether or not they're going to play StarCraft 2 or 1. Somewhat confusingly, Spirit will now be our teal player, which I was associating with our Brood War players. I'm not sure if they're both allowed to play. Well, in order to make sure we don't just have another StarCraft 2 Terran versus Zerg, obviously at least one player has to play Brood War. But I'm not sure if the StarCraft 2 component is required. But Dark is Zerg rushing. He's saving up the larva. He's going to have 6 lings to start. And he has enough gas for speed. So a good old-fashioned Zergling rush. And interesting, it actually shows both the little icons. Huh. You know, now that I think about it, why doesn't it do that with normal SC2? Bit misleading. For the 4 people who don't understand how Zerglings work. Alright, let me teach you about the birds in the spawning pools, Billy. Are they... So do they have arms or claws? Also, they run so weird. I never knew. You know, it's weirdly anthropomorphic, those claws they got over their heads. It looks like they're just like, hey! Hey, come and get it! Like, well... And maybe they are. The Zergling sneaking in. He waited until the Reaper was most of the way across the map. He may be able to just cancel this base, as Brood War Zerglings are stronger than their SC2 counterparts. I believe they do more damage, or they attack... Oh no. Well... He gets in. That Marine surviving is a pretty big deal, but the Reaper dying is... also significant. The Marine being protected quite well. The 60 HP SCVs again helping out a lot. The Zerglings might be able to just murder that Marine. Indeed they do. Did he cancel the command center? I think so, based on the minerals he has, but... God, those Zerglings. Well... Once again, though, despite it, Dark only has 16 drones. He doesn't have access to larva injects, so he can't build up those drones very quickly. And Spirit has a mule dropping from the orbital command. So, again, Dark hits him with an early Zerg rush. And again, Spirit holds, but we'll see how it plays out, as Dark was already building a lair behind. Really? 3 command center. And now gonna go with reactored Hellions? I'm not actually sure where you go from here. This is kind of untrod territory. As Dark clearly trying to take the initiative. Getting a Spire. Those Brood War Mutas. Much more dangerous, but fragile as well. I think they, at least in the mod, they have a little more range than their StarCraft 2 counterparts. Do a bit more damage. We'll see how Dark is able to use them. Already building a creep colony and a sunken in order to zone things out. The daddy spine crawler. Oh yeah, pretty much, but it's weird when you say it like that. A second factory on the way. Huh. Interesting. Though... Jimmy, give Dark his points! Sorry. Was engrossed by the Zerg rush, obviously. Does the game just end with 5 mutas? If he doesn't start building any cyclones, I think the answer is yes. 5 mutas in production. He's gonna get in, he's gonna see that. Oh, he has to know. Seeing those gases with almost no drones, he cancels and builds cyclones. That was an incredibly important scout on that one Hellion. And he scans the main just to be sure. Yep, Spire's already finished. Engineering bay is on the way. The cyclones looking to pop out. 5 clones at a time. The mutas are almost all the way across. I think they're a little slower than their StarCraft 2. They also don't heal. They do have that range. The Cyclones, of course, have more range, being the red-headed stepchild of a Goliath. More like the bastard child of a Goliath, but still. You'll never be a Goliath, Cyclones. But they're going to do their best impression. The mutas. Honestly, half the reason I love this mod, the crazy thing for me, I never played Brood War. I obviously barely had a childhood. I never played Brood War. Played World of Warcraft. Don't judge. But I don't have the nostalgia that probably a significant portion of people do. I missed out. But I still think the sounds of Brood War and like the feel of the units are, especially the sound design. I think StarCraft 2 is just a bit too realistic. I like how you can close your eyes and hear the Terrans dying with the mutas there. To an extent, StarCraft 2 has a pretty iconic sound design, but it's more realistic. The explosions, like there aren't the weird inconsistencies with the sounds that come from trying to fit all of your game on a single CD-ROM. Like the Zealots attacking Marines. I love how with Brood War, you can literally close your eyes. You could probably name every single unit in that fight. StarCraft 2, it'd be a little harder and not as entertaining. But either way, Bermuda's swinging in again. The Hellion's trying to come forward. The Cyclones, he's not getting Cyclone speed, curiously. But the mutas are not that fast, and they don't have their regen that they developed after the war. So, Blue Flame now completed. Gonna incinerate both the Zerglings and the Hydras alike. Really need some mutas back at home, but the Cyclones will come across the map as well, I'm sure. Are Hydras light units, or do they not have a tag? I'm not sure. They weren't doing much damage with that Blue Flame. I'm pretty sure they don't have a tag. Alright, neither heavy nor light. Exactly how they mean to be. Biological, I guess. But is that... Is he gonna make queens? He's getting spawn broodling on his queen's nest, where instead of the silly infestor converting some units to their side, you could simply rip them apart, alien style, and have broodlings pop out of their corpses. Does it matter if they're mechanical units? No! The Zerg don't care. They're not building any queens yet. Cyclones coming in for another pass. Hive is on the way. Queen's Nest unlocking that opportunity. And Spirit, I mean, the Hydras don't have that much HP. Even if they aren't light units, enough Hellions will be able to target them down with relative ease. The Cyclone zoning out the Mutalisks yet again. And is that the Queen energy upgrade? Yes, I want to say. It's using the Pathogen Glands upgrade, which is now obsolete in StarCraft 2, but I have to assume so. A lot of units in StarCraft 1 Brood War have an starting energy upgrade that significantly increases their effectiveness. StarCraft 2 units, some of them as well. But some units even have a higher energy cap. I believe the High Templar is capped at 250. I'm not sure if that's a universal cap or if it's per unit, but it's an interesting implication because depending on the energy cap, you can cast, of course, more spells. Or abilities, or whatever it is we call them. I think everybody goes back and forth on it. Still no Queen. He's getting all the upgrades, but he's teasing me. Oh, Dark, you tease. I've been saying that for years, but still not a single Queen in production. But then again, if he's... I think it's the counter to the Thors and the Siege tanks. And if he doesn't see a high number of those, then Spawn Broodling and Mass Queen not as effective. They also have the Ensnare ability, and they're relatively cheap for what they are, but against Cyclones and Hellions, not as much utility. But now, we're exploring other parts of the tech tree. Dark has survived yet again, this time around. A Greater Spire on the way for Guardians and Devourers. Yes, I'm checking off all the boxes. I know the names of most. Adjourning Lands on the way for the... Oh, and again, using those hidden lurkers. But the Cyclones get a couple more mutas. He's just trying to free up space here. Dark at only 140. He builds 7 more mutas. Because in order to build those Lobster Lords, or the Devourers, you just morph them from the mutas. Which I would love to try in SC2, by the way. Just as an aside. Instead of Corruptors being required, having the mutas maybe, you know, an end goal. But the Corruptors kind of take the place of the Devourer in StarCraft 2, so. The Lurker's in position. Spirit returning to his natural turtle-based form. We've seen this in StarCraft 2 plenty of times, though not this particular brand of Mech Terran. 9 Guardians on the way. Those long-range siege lobsters. Still not a single queen, you filthy tease, Dark. Lurkers as well. Spirit is building some ghosts. Adrenaline Gland's nearly done. Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Ghost Cloaking. But the lobsters have a... They're not even really lobsters, but... crabs. They don't do a ton of damage, but they certainly press the issue. Oh my... Actually, you know what? Vehicle plating level 1 denied at the last second. And raining down the Cyclones in a tough position. There are Hellbats and Medivacs here to drop on top. He does have detection. The Hellbat's roasting through. Guardians do not shoot up. The Lurkers help you out a lot, but there's no anti-air left. He might be able to snipe. No, the Ghost just dies. And GG. Dark on match point. Just like that. Well, again, a decisive victory. And now, well, we'll see. I'm very interested to see if Dark will be StarCraft 1 Zerg again. He's clearly just as experienced. And again, it has to be loser pick. Though at this point, Spirit, I don't know. And we're on Neo Isles of Siren. Neo Isles of Siren. Another SC Evo dedicated map. I think maybe one from Brood War ported over, or reimagined. But cross positions, and Dark has so far shown a command over the series and the game, and Spirit just struggling. Dark kind of using the same styles he enjoys. Wait, do you have to mine your way out of the base? This is I love the look. In fact, we just need to use these sort of tile sets. Like, these are all StarCraft 2 assets. So, even if we don't use the map design, we need to use some more of these. Look at this. The multicolored snow-ish radioactive rain part. I love it. Okay? But I'm not here as a tourist. I'm here as a tour guide. And I'm going to take this time at the very beginning of what should be a full-on macro game to mention again that anyone can play StarCraft Evolution Complete. If you want to find some games, you can check out the Discord. Thank you to Hyper1, the team and organization, and I believe the person, for organizing the tournament. Special shout out to KiwiOn as well, also known as Top, for the Korean scene, which is still very much enjoying this mod. I will admit it's kind of hard to find games outside of Korea because Brood War is only a religion for those in Korea or who lived there for many years. But
fuck this game, man.
I have certainly been enjoying it. Even though there's a tendency for many of the games to be a bit lopsided as you get the contrast of some of the StarCraft 2 mechanics versus StarCraft 1 units and vice versa. It's impressive that the games even look close to balanced, though. I think that's a testament to how good a game both of them are, as well as how good a job they've done on the mod. So, a fourth hatchery before even acknowledging anything else. Because, of course, I appreciate how both these players showed up as well. Oh, Dark, of course. The final boss. You expect any less? And this may be why he hasn't been playing in as many StarCraft 2 tournaments lately. Like, the weekly tournaments and stuff like that. He hasn't been quite as active. I don't know if he's been practicing and playing in this, but if he has, it's certainly paid off. And if he hasn't, that's arguably more impressive. Neo Isles of Siren. You're going to be seeing this on the second channel where I actually stream my own games. Winter Gaming TV, by the way, if you care. In the description. Below all the Discord info and all that. We have so much time. These two are so far apart. I saw a bit of rumination lately about going back to like a 6-worker start in SC2, or like what the implications are and whether it was better for strategy. And I'd like to counter with, here we are with a 12-worker start, and still sitting there for 4 minutes for long enough for me to pontificate about these things. I don't think going back to a 6-worker start is a good idea in StarCraft 2. I don't think that would add a lot to the strategy. Even if 10% of games might be dramatic cheeses or rushes, the other 90% at this level of mechanical skill in StarCraft 2, I think that's the difference. Back in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, players would die to things, all right? Players weren't perfect. That we didn't have Cyril and Clem. The difference was not so much the strategies, in my opinion, but the mechanical skill level. I mean, you could probably argue the same to an extent for Flash in Brood War at his height, where him existing a bit of a spoiler to the game itself. What I do think is with Legacy of the Void and the addition of extra workers, what we lost was a lot of the variety of tech, because the economy ramps up so much quicker, but the relative time it takes to get to, say, a Spire or a battlecruiser or a Stargate, that was not changed. So that means instead of 5 mutas hitting, someone who has 22 SCVs being a big commitment to both sides. You have 10 mutas hitting 40 SCVs on 3 bases when they already have enough infrastructure to kind of counter everything. I think that is the part of the game that needs to be adjusted. In StarCraft 2, of course, if there was to be an adjustment. But just simply going back to a 6-worker start, I think, is simplistic nostalgia as opposed to a actual real idea. Well, and now this game has begun 6 minutes in. Wait, is this an island map? Is that why? Oh. We have Mass Liberator now against mutas, and that might explain. Yeah, remember island maps in Wings of Liberty and their crazy strategies? Well, looking at you, Scrap Station. And speaking of scrap, this base is going to have to be abandoned. Wow. Actually, it is. Okay. Well, that makes... it was in the name. It kind of gave it away. How did you even get over here? He got dropped... Wait. Can you physically... No. Each quadrant is its own large island. And then there's a small one in the center with 4 Gasgassers. So you are forced in some way into air units, drops, what have you. 15 mutas versus 7 liberators. A straight up Sky War. As Sky Terran faces off against the Mutalists. Dark has no other options but the... I mean, he can do the drops. He's got the Dropper Lords now. He's adding a second Spire, so clearly intent on continuing down this road, but Ghosts and Liberators already on the way. Spirit still has... He actually has more workers at the moment. So, in a relatively comfortable position. He's still on 4 bases, so... Doesn't have to worry too much economically. I think many of these maps... Another thing with Legacy of the Void is minerals running out quicker. So not only do you have... not only do you have a higher economy to start, but you have to expand more quickly, which necessarily favors kind of homogenized strategies. So that is another reason why games can feel a little stale. Unlike right now, where Dropper Lords are coasting across the map. The mutas hunting. The Ghost does still one-shot. Those mutas don't have nearly enough HP. They have the 120, just like their StarCraft 2 counterparts. The Liberator flock, though, hunting down the mutas. 12. Oh, yeah. I completely forgot. And we'll see if Spirit did about Scourge. Huge single target damage against air. And now double Nidus, but from the back left corner. Nidus can only go a single direction. Liberators. Oh my. An overlapping Venn diagram of freedom. Protecting the bases from the limited Zergling drops. Dark has 95 drones. I think he's struggling to kind of keep control. Wait. Is this the... I guess it's just a canal on both sides, because it's like a one-way street. It's not a Nidus network like StarCraft 2, which can go anywhere and split off in different directions. This is just a point A to point B. I'm not exactly sure you're supposed to keep track of which one's which. But in Brood War, we just kind of figured it out. And by we, I mean the players, of course. Back in my day, we couldn't tell where we were going. We just got in when they said to. It's happening! Brenda! Yes, I'm coming! Spirit is taking the center base. But does Ensnare work against air units? I think we're gonna find out. As the queens pop out. We've arrived! Brenda, you look beautiful. I've always looked this way, Susan. Why do you... Your voice. What do you mean? What's wrong with my voice? Nothing. Why do you say that like it's weird? Beautiful day up here. I'm sorry. I am hallucinating. 22 Scourge on the way. There's already a dozen. Dark has 100 drones. But Spirit has a planetary fortress in the center island and is dropping ghosts in. Which is certainly quite a play. One-shotting turrets, but those Liberators are an existential threat. I'm pretty sure... Oh, now we find out. Ensnare does work against Liberators. Slows them down, but oh my... Just melting. Here come the Scourge. And the ensnares, he hunts them down. And almost every single Liberator is taken down. Pulls a few more ghosts to the island. Dark is... what? 14 siege crabs on the way. The Guardians, once again, the end game option. 21 Mutalisks. And now, a fusion core. Oh my. But the answer here... Oh, can the Guardians... So the Guardians are direct damage. But there are more ghosts than Guardians, which means... Oh, wait. Oh my god. It does appear that, much like in the Brood War, the best counter to Zerg is ghosts. I'm talking more lore accurately here, but he drops the ghosts in. Well, Dark just lost like 10,000 resources in seconds to the highly trained ghosts, which learned from their mistakes during the war clearly, and came well equipped to deal with the battles of the past. And now they are invading Dark's main quadrant, though he's expanded to literally every other base on the map. Okay, he's missing one. Spirit is trying to expand to where a hatchery is, but what can Dark do against such reckless hate? And also, ghosts. He's getting plague for defilers. There's still queens. No, wait, the queens all died too. There's Niduses in all the corners. Another quad drop of ghosts. Unfortunately, the snipes and the ghost auto attack itself are proving more than a match for literally everything Dark has thrown at him thus far. Defiler energy on the way. A nuclear missile is in production. I think one of the few things that was not improved in StarCraft. So StarCraft 2 nukes are weaker than their Brood War counterparts, but they don't cost supplies, so I guess that's a plus. More mutas, more lings. Dark has already lost twice as many resources. More than that. Almost 3 times as much. But he does have 3 times as many bases. The thing is, Spirit is mining from the center, which has 4 gas geysers. So he's sitting pretty comfortable here. Advanced ballistics on the way. Another landing party of ghosts, and now SCVs is... Well, that's a crazy move. He's nuking his own base in the hopes... we gotta okay. In the hopes that Dark would come to challenge it as soon as possible. The mutas flying through. What a flock it is as well. 31 mutas and 2 battle cruisers on the way. Tactical jump, obviously a strong option. Plus 3 ship weapons. Scourge are still a great option against the battle cruisers if they can close the distance. Zerglings dropping in, but the Liberators say no. You will not be crossing the board. The Liberators and the Ghosts. It's the most anti-Zergling composition I've ever seen. More mutas. being popped. Oh my god. It's a nightmare. And Dark just... He still has four... You know, can you blame him? 4,000 minerals, 2,000 gas in the bank, which actually put him behind Spirit. And the army is 33 ghosts and 12 liberators. And Dark decides that's enough for him. He's up now 3-1. It could be worse. But ow. The snipe's knocking a... just doing way too much emotional and physical damage. And costing him everything. And now, interestingly, it seems like both players have chosen for their opponent to go back to the future and play Brood War. Dark will be reverting to StarCraft 2 Zerg, and Spirit will once again be the Brood War Terran. Able to pick up a game. Destructible ice crates. There's a destructible crate emulating the Zerg egg. On this map, they're finding your main ramp, so I assume that's in order to wall off in a certain way. Where is said main ramp? We'll see what Dark does about it, as Zerg usually wants to expand quicker. What? It looks like he just went right through that. The map is Citadel. I'm trying to find the ice cream. No, unbuildable rocks. Those are classic. Make sure you can't cannon rush things. I'm gonna feel real dumb when I figure this out. Don't see any ice crates. Maybe they melted. I do think more map features and such as that could be explored. Unfortunately, in StarCraft 2, units are so good at their jobs. And the StarCraft 2 engine may never be seen again. Is part of the reason why more creative map features are mostly vetoed by especially pro players. But I think we could have a little bit more. One main offender, of course, is the Liberator, which has a tendency to invalidate certain map features by making itself invulnerable in certain locations. If there was one unit that could help map makers be a bit more creative, well, not necessarily being imbalanced, the Liberator would be it. And of course, things like siege tanks and lurkers and blink stalkers have to be considered, but no unit has affected map design more than the Liberator itself. I mean, in a specific sense. Obviously, like the size of ramps and such things is affected, like by Zerglings potentially running in. What? Machine shop on the way. Double factory. He's just floating the racks. Vultures. We've gone to game 5, and this is the first vultures. Oh, Spirit. Meanwhile, Dark building. Brenda! My joints hurt! What happened? It was just a dream, Susan. They gave it to us. And then they took it away. We will have our revenge. We'll get the ghost canceled. Well, good news on that front, Brenda. Sorry. The vultures protecting the front as the first Zerglings try to dart in. Building an engineering bay, which, after its dramatic accident, colliding with a Zerg queen, during the war. Neither of them are able to fly anymore because of lasting trauma. And that's when StarCraft... Oh, there are the ice crates. Okay. It says Protoss crates. So did the Protoss invent ice? Meanwhile, siege mode on the way. How do the vultures do against roaches? They don't fare much better than their Hellion counterparts. No spider mines in production. It'd be downright... How did a Zerg leg end up in here? Doesn't manage to take down the SCV, but... Third command center's done. Chew Toy Depot. Is this another kind of ramp situation? These look like gates, but they're actually... They're ramps? That's really quite a trick of the eye there. They look like they're high ground, but also not high ground all at the same time. Well, Dark with it a good old-fashioned, well, new-fashioned Ravager all in. Gonna break down the engineering bay, but there are 2 siege tanks. 3 siege tanks. And corrosive bile, I don't think is gonna be enough to break through them. There should be enough defense. He's getting real close. There's more tanks at the back. Might be able to knock out 1. Still takes 3 corrosive biles, even though they're a bit squishier. Corrosive bile does 60 damage. Tanks have 150 HP. StarCraft 2 siege tanks for 200 or 225. Definitely more. A Wraith on the way. Wow. It's crazy. Watch them go over those not-so hills. Engineering bay lifts off. A Wraith in production. Just any sort of air unit to try to drive this back. Really fulfilling the role of the... Oh my god, the vultures are stuck at the back. Spirit well contained here. Wraith gonna knock out 1 of the overlords. Actually, supply blocking Dark. A little sloppy there. And Spider Mine research begins. I didn't notice it. The Vulture is trying to get some extra damage done, but having some trouble. Wraith will now give... They'll mildly inconvenience the Ravagers to death. A fraction of the damage a Banshee does in a similar scenario. But I think better at... Well, obviously better at anti-air because a Banshee can't do anti-air. So at least it serves that purpose and knocks out those overlords. Goliath's on the way. Spider-Man's nearly completed. Unfortunately, Dark able to surround and kill some of the vultures. Siege tanks dotting the field. That's a lot of tanks already. 7 tanks done. More wraiths being added in. 1 on the way. Mech weapons and ship weapons and armor fully split in the Brood War. So clearly focusing on those ground units. Dark though, Sir Richard and his band of brethren. 8 swarm hosts in production. I think an amazing answer to the more turtly siege tank and spider mine setup. I am reasonably sure the locusts, when they drop down, will trigger any spider mine field. The engineering bay and the barracks in the air to scout. Doing a better job than the overlords at the moment. Irradiate is in production. But the swarm hosts are going to have quite an angle to deal with this. A Nidus on the way, making use of the more modernized Nidus network. Goliaths hit the field. It's at this point I do wish at least some of the games would be straight up StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 1, just on the StarCraft 2 engine. But I digress. Maybe I should sponsor one of those. I just want to see the old school Terran and Zerglings fight. But the Locusts drop down. 1 siege tank dead easily. That command center likely going to have to lift itself. The ground army, it's not going to get any easier. That's the problem. He might be able to clean up one wave, but what about the next one and the one after that? The vulture's not a permanent answer. The siege tank's a liability as much as they are a boon. 1-1 now about done for Spirit as he tries to turtle things up. One of the queens pops out of the Nidus to help spread the creep. Braves clear out an Overseer and can maybe tickle down the Nidus Worm, but another wave of Locust hits the main. Irradiates it, which ain't no kill like overkill. Melts through the Locust. The Rays continue to work on the Nidus network. But Dark is slowly but surely taking command of this game. The Spider Mines obliterate some of the Zerglings, but he drags out several mines. And Nidus on the front lines as well. Spirit has slowly but surely worked up to about 170 supply. I'm not sure how Irradiate works if you get irradiated, then go into the Nidus. But irradiating some of the Locusts. Dark actually splitting the Locust to minimize damage. Doing quite a good job of it so far. Roaches and Ravagers coming through. Corrosive Bile should knock out all the tanks that the Locust didn't get in the first wave. But fighting back. Spirit still has enough to maybe challenge this, but is forced to lift up the command center. The Wraith's also involved. Another wave of Corrosive Bile. Dodges it with the Science Vessels. Not enough energy to dole out more Irradiates. Lurker Den. Adrenal Glands. Hydra... Wait, no. Yes, Hydra Speed. It's a different icon in the Brood War version. Another wave of Locusts. I don't think he can afford to just keep using Irradiates on Locust, though. And here come the Roach Ravager again. The Siege Tanks irradiates one of the Roaches, splits it off. The tanks will siege, but the Corrosive Biles land. And Spirit taps it out. The final boss rips through. Oh, with 2 games, or 3 games. 2 games is the Brood War Zerg, 2 games is StarCraft 2. But your first StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 major champion is the final boss. It's Dark. Feels like Dark just had a better command of both flavors of Zerg there. Knew how to use his advantages and powered through. Spirit putting up a spirited fight, but the darkness overwhelms. Still a fun demonstration of the mod, and I think its potential. And there's some more highlight games from the tournament. If you're interested, let me know. Always casting anything that isn't StarCraft 2 Modern Pro games is always a bit of a risk when it comes to the YouTube. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the StarCraft Evolution League and StarCraft Evolution Complete, which is an extension mod to StarCraft 2. In fact, I will break from our usual monotony and our selling out, saying, well, check out Patreon and YouTube membership, and I will demonstrate how to create a game on it and play against the AI, and the AI works for it. So, if you'd like to create a game, you can either search SC Evo, Evo Complete, Fighting Spirit, like, what was that map? The Island. Create with mod, and then over here, just search up SC Evo, and the one you're looking for is... I want to say it's this one now. I didn't realize they had changed the name to just Direct, but based on SC Evo Div. There you go. Even has the new Plague animation. 99% sure that's it. And you can check in on the Brood War version. So you can apply it to any map and play your own games, even against the AI. Has all those beautiful sounds of Brood War, the Marines dying, and the Zerglings clawing that you know and you love. So... thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Congratulations! I've said this many times before, but congratulations to Dark once again for demonstrating why he is the final boss. And thank you for watching. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.